Thursday, 13 August 2026, millions of Zambians will walk to their polling stations from 6 in the morning until 1800 hours in the evening. They will decide who will lead the country for the next 5 years. 14 candidates have been validly nominated for the presidency. But let's be honest, not all 14 are in the running to win. So in this series, Know Your Candidates, we're going to help cut through the noise and actually get to know the people on your ballot. In part 1, we focus on the 4 names most likely to shape this election. The incumbent, Hakainde Hichilema, and his 3 most prominent challengers, Brian Mundubile, Fred Membe, and Harry Kalaba. Who are they? Where did they come from? And what do they stand for? Let's get into it. He walked to school barefoot. Decades later, he walked into State House. This is the story of Hakainde Hichilema, the businessman who tried 6 times before he finally won. Hakainde Hichilema, known across Zambia simply as HH or Bali, was born on the 4th of June 1962 in Monze, in the country's southern province. He came from humble beginnings. As a boy, he herded cattle and by his own account, attended school barefoot before earning a place at the University of Zambia on a full government bursary. He graduated in 1986 with a degree in economics and business administration. Then he went on to earn an MBA in finance and business strategy from the University of Birmingham in the United Kingdom. What followed was a rapid rise through Zambia's corporate world. By the age of 32, he was chief executive of the accounting firm Coopers & Lybrand and later led its successor, Grant Thornton. He became a major shareholder in foreign-owned companies and built one of the largest cattle ranching operations in the country. In 2006, his business mentor and friend Anderson Mazoka, founder of the UPND, died, and Hichilema won the leadership of the party. He began his campaigns on a single, consistent message that Zambia needed a leader who understood business and could fix the economy. But the road to the presidency was long. He ran and lost again and again, 5 times in total. In 2017, under President Edgar Lungu, Hichilema was arrested and charged with treason after his motorcade allegedly failed to give way to the presidential convoy, a case widely seen as politically motivated. He spent 4 months in a maximum security prison before the charges were dropped. Then, in August 2021, on his 6th attempt, he won decisively. He was inaugurated as Zambia's 7th president. Now, in 2026, Hichilema is seeking a second term on the UPND ticket. Early opinion polling has shown him with a commanding lead over a fragmented opposition. But as every election reminds us, polls are not votes. A Seventh-day Adventist married to Mutinta and a father of 3, Hakainde Hichilema goes into this election as the man to beat. He was the man who spoke for the opposition in parliament after his party lost power. Meet Brian Mundubile. Brian Mundubile was born on the 5th of January 1971 in Porokoso in Zambia's northern province and grew up in the village of Muwombo. He is that relatively rare thing in politics, both a lawyer and a chartered accountant. He read law at the University of Zambia and qualified as an accountant through the Zambia Center for Accountancy Studies before building private business interests of his own. Mundubile entered parliament in August 2016 as the Patriotic Front member for Mporokoso, a seat he has held ever since. Under President Edgar Lungu, he rose quickly, first as provincial minister for Northern Province, and then from 2019 as government chief whip, one of the most powerful organizational roles in parliament. When the Patriotic Front lost power to Hichilema's UPND in 2021, Mundubile stayed at the center of national politics, taking on the role of the leader of opposition, effectively the chief voice challenging the new government in parliament. By 2026, Zambia's opposition, long fragmented and divided, sought to consolidate. In January 2026, a convention elected Mundubile as the presidential candidate of the Tonse Alliance. He now carries the alliance's banner on a National Reconciliation Party for Unity and Prosperity ticket. Supporters point to his experience and the energy of his campaign. He heads into August 2026 as one of the most prominent faces of the challenge to the incumbent. Brian Mundubile, the lawyer-accountant from Porokoso, is betting that a united opposition can do what a divided one could not. A devout Christian, Mundubile often points to the words of the prophet Micah to act justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with God as the creed he says guides him. For 26 years, he ran the newspaper that governments feared. He was jailed, banned, and charged with espionage. Now, for the second time, Fred Membe is running for president. Fred Membe, born on the 11th of March 1959 in Mongu, in what was then Barotseland, in Zambia's western province. He first trained not as a journalist, but as an accountant, studying at the Copperbelt University and qualifying with the Association of Chartered Certified Accountants, ACCA. He would later add a master's in economy policy and a law degree from the University of Zambia, becoming an advocate of the High and Supreme Courts. But it was journalism that made his name. In 1991, with Zambia served only by government-controlled newspapers, Membe co-founded The Post, which became the country's most influential independent newspaper. For 26 years, he edited and ran it, and for 26 years, it collided with those in power. In 1996, he was jailed on contempt of parliament. He and 10 of his staff were charged with espionage on a story about the country's military readiness. The Media Institute of Southern Africa called him the most prosecuted journalist in the country and the rest of the region. And in 2000, the International Press Institute named him one of its World Press Freedom Heroes. The Post was finally shut down by the government in 2017. The following year, in 2018, Membe turned fully into politics, founding the Socialist Party on an unapologetically left-wing platform of putting the poor first. He was the party's presidential candidate in 2021, and he runs again in 2026. There is a personal thread that ties Zambian politics together in his story too. Membe is married to Mutinta Mazoka, daughter of Anderson Mazoka, the very man who founded the UPND that President Hichilema now leads. Fred Membe, the firebrand who spent his life refusing to stay silent, is asking Zambians to hand him the highest office of all. He was Zambia's foreign minister until the day he resigned, walking away from power on principle. This is the story of Harry Kalaba. Harry Kalaba was born on the 12th of June 1976 in Mansa district in Wapula province. Politics ran in his family. His father, Simon Chisha Kalaba, was a member of parliament and a minister under Zambia's founding president, Kenneth Kaunda. Educated in Catholic schools and shaped by time in seminary, Kalaba often speaks of values like service before self. He began his career in the civil service, working across several ministries and rising to the position of deputy director. In 2011, he was elected member of parliament for Bahati under President Michael Sata. He was appointed Minister of Lands and then, in March 2014, Minister of Foreign Affairs, a post he would hold for nearly 4 years. As foreign minister, Kalaba is credited with shifting Zambia's diplomacy toward economic partnerships, pursuing cooperation deals in infrastructure, energy, health, and agriculture. Then came the moment that defined his public image. In 2018, Kalaba resigned from the cabinet, citing what he described as abuse of power by senior government officials and the drift away from the pro-poor principles of the late President Sata. His political journey since has been a search for the right vehicle. He left the Patriotic Front in 2019 and stood as the Democratic Party's presidential candidate in the 2021 election. After parting ways with that party, he became president of Citizens First in October 2022. Now, in 2026, Kalaba is running for the presidency at the head of Citizens First, positioning himself as a principled alternative for voters looking beyond the two dominant camps. A husband and father, Kalaba is a devout Catholic whose faith once took him from a seminary in Uganda to the Urbaniana University in Rome, and which he says still guides his moral compass today. Harry Kalaba, the diplomat who chose principle over position, is betting that Zambians are ready for exactly that. So there they are, the 4 frontrunners in Zambia's 2026 presidential race. A businessman turned president seeking a second term, a lawyer-accountant carrying the opposition's banner, a firebrand journalist who never stopped fighting, and a diplomat who walked away from power on principle. 14 names will be on that ballot, but whoever you support, the most important thing is this: know your candidates, check that you're registered, and on the 13th of August, go and vote.